You're sitting at the gate. Boarding was supposed to start 20 minutes ago. The gate agent makes an announcement. Your flight is delayed due to a technical issue. And immediately, every passenger in that terminal lets out a collective groan. You check your connecting flight. You do the mental maths on your hotel. You start getting frustrated, but here's what nobody tells you. That delay just saved your life, and I mean that literally. Let's start with what passengers actually think when they hear technical delay. Most people assume the aircraft is broken, completely unserviceable, that engineers are scrambling around in a panic trying to fix something catastrophic. The reality is almost always completely different. A technical delay can be triggered by something as minor as a faulty reading light, a coffee maker that won't heat, a passenger seat that won't recline. These are real examples, real delays. Now, you might be thinking, why would a broken seat cause a delay? The answer comes down to one word: documentation. Everything on an aircraft has a status. Everything is either serviceable, deferred under the MEL, or unserviceable and grounded. There is no middle ground. There is no guessing. The paperwork has to be correct before the aircraft moves. So, what actually constitutes a technical delay? There are broadly three categories. First, a defect that requires immediate rectification, something that affects the safety or airworthiness of the aircraft directly. A hydraulic leak, an engine fault, a flight control issue. These are the delays that take time, and because the fix has to be done correctly, documented correctly, and signed off correctly. Second, a defect that needs to be assessed against the MEL. The minimum equipment list. We covered this in a previous video, but in short, the MEL tells us which items can be legally inoperative and under what conditions. Assessing a defect against the MEL takes time. Finding the right reference, applying the right conditions, making the right decision. Third, a paperwork issue. Missing documents, incorrect entries in the technical log, a certification that needs updating. The aircraft may be perfectly serviceable, but if the paperwork isn't right, it doesn't fly. Let me give you a real scenario. An aircraft lands and the crew raises a defect. One of the passenger cabin overhead reading lights is not working. The AME on the turnaround checks the technical log, identifies the defect, and pulls out the MEL. The MEL reference for cabin lighting says, one or more reading lights may be inoperative provided the total number does not exceed a defined percentage of the total, and the affected passengers are reseated if required. The AME applies the MEL, makes the correct entries in the technical log, and the aircraft is released to service. Total time, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. But if the MEL reference isn't immediately clear, or if the defect is more complex, or if there are multiple defects to assess simultaneously, that 15 minutes becomes 45 minutes, and your flight is delayed. Not because anything dangerous happened, because the system worked exactly as it should. Now, let's talk about the delays that take longer. A genuine technical defect that requires rectification. Here's what actually happens on the ground when that occurs. The aircraft lands. The crew reports the defect in the technical log. The AME receives the defect and begins troubleshooting. They consult the aircraft maintenance manual, the AME, to identify the correct procedure. They source the required parts, tools, and equipment. They carry out the repair following the AMM step by step. They test the system to confirm rectification. They raise a work order. They complete all required documentation. And then, and only then, they sign the certificate of release to service. Every single step of that process is mandatory. None of it can be skipped, none of it can be rushed, and every single step takes time. The next time your flight is delayed for 2 hours due to a technical issue, that's what's happening behind the jetway door. Technical delays are actually only one category. Let's talk about operational delays, because these are far more common than most passengers realize. Late incoming aircraft? Your aircraft is coming from another airport and the inbound flight was delayed. Crew hours. Aviation regulations strictly limit how many hours a crew can work in a given period. If the inbound crew has reached their limit, a fresh crew needs to be sourced. That takes time. Ground handling, fueling, catering, cleaning, baggage loading, any one of these can cause a delay if the turnaround is tight. Slot restrictions. Airports have departure slots allocated by air traffic control. Miss your slot and you go to the back of the queue. Passenger issues. A passenger checks in but doesn't board. Their bags have to be offloaded before the aircraft can depart. Security requirements, no exceptions. These are not excuses. They are systems designed to keep every flight safe and orderly. Then there's weather and ATC. Weather delays are perhaps the most misunderstood of all. Passengers often look out the window at clear blue skies at their departure airport and wonder why their flight is delayed due to weather. The answer, whether at the destination or along the route or at an alternate airport. A flight cannot depart if the destination is below landing minima and there is no suitable alternate available. It's not the captain being cautious, it is a legal and regulatory requirement. ATC delays, air traffic control flow management, occur when there is congestion in the airspace or at airports. Aircraft are given slot times and holding patterns to manage the flow. There is nothing the airline, the crew, or the AME can do about an ATC delay. The sky has a capacity limit, and when it's full, you wait. Here's the perspective shift I want you to take away from this video. A delay is the system working. Think about it this way. A technical delay means an engineer found something, assessed it, and made a decision. The decision was, this aircraft does not meet airworthiness requirements in its current state. We are not releasing it to service until it does. That decision, made by a licensed AME under regulatory obligation, with their signature on the line, is the reason commercial aviation has the safety record it has. An airline that cuts corners on maintenance to avoid delays is not an airline you want to fly with. The delays you experience are proof that the system is functioning, proof that the checks are being done, proof that the people responsible for that aircraft take their job seriously. Be frustrated with the delay if you must, but understand what it represents. As an aircraft maintenance engineer, I have been on the receiving end of passenger frustration many times. I have stood under an aircraft at 2 a.m. in the middle of a turnaround, troubleshooting a defect with 180 passengers waiting at a gate. I have felt the pressure of a departure time passing while I am working through an AMM procedure. And I have made the decision, more than once, that the aircraft is not ready. That my signature is not going on that release to service until the defect is rectified and the documentation is correct. Not because I want to delay your flight, because I am legally, professionally, and personally responsible for that decision. And because at 35,000 feet, there are no second chances. The next time you're delayed, find the engineer on the ground. They're the ones who made the call, and they made the right one. So now you know what really happens when your flight is delayed. It's not incompetence. It's not bad luck. It's a system of checks, decisions, and documentation designed around one single priority, getting you there safely. If this changed how you think about delays, hit subscribe. I break down aviation in a way that actually makes sense. See you in the next one.